Hi, welcome to you all. I know that this is late and we are all tired also. I would like to talk about ASB and the development disorders. First of all, the normal sexual development. I would like to mention about that, and ASB and sexual development. As we all know, sexuality is really important, and people are curious after they find the answer for the question, are we healthy? So our sexual development is really important. It is based on this question. We all have desires, of course, females and females. Fertilization actually is important for us, and innately actually there is this sexuality chromosomes XXXY, and the hormones are synthesized with these chromosomes, and as an impact of hormones, organs are shaped. Actually, with the absence of the hormones, actually organs develop. All these biological factors develop as such, and socially, parents and the social environment, on the other hand, they give messages to the child, our culture, values, set of values, our beliefs, and also the sexual character expectations from them, their rights, and the responsibilities that we actually put on their shoulders. And all the social messages actually are to be digested by the child, and biologically actually the child has got emotions and preferences which cannot be limited to social messages, and biopsychological and psychosocial factors all come into scene. So how is sexual development? Well, there are different theory is actually which try to explain it. As you all know, the psychosexual theory, psychosocial theory, and social learning theory. But when we look at the essence of it, they are all universal actually. They are not unique to a culture, a civilization, and the development process is staged actually. And there isn't a sharp threshold between those stages, and all the stages actually follow one after the other without skipping one stage. An individual's sexual development, emotional, spiritual, and mental development need not always be in the same stage. They can be in different stages. So all these factors actually, physical development, mental development, spiritual development, and maturation, actually they all contribute to the sexual development of child. And the most important is the Freud's psychosexual theory, because the sexual characteristics are more given importance in this theory, not only for sexual development, actually identity development, for organizational complements actually. For instance, Freud says that a child, first of all, as it's born, the oral and anal regions and genital regions and do have a satisfaction. First of all, they discover that, and after this, the discovery of these satisfaction areas, they change their behaviors and their identity. And another important theory is Oedipal conflict. And in the Oedipal conflict, actually, the child, they compete with their parents when it comes to their sexual identity, and they also connect to the parents. On the other hand, they model the parents. So all these processes actually to impact the sexual development of the child and contribute. So on the cognitive level, how is the case? Cognitive level, around about 3 years of age, they become aware of their genders, their sexuality, male and female, girls and boys. They try to determine their own position. Actually, they are in a concrete level, actually, try to, they are aware of their sexuality, like girls have long hair, for instance, boys do not wear skirts. So of course children know this, they are aware of the difference between boy and girl, but they are also curious about the other genders, and they play games in order to discover the other gender, and parents continuously give message and which shape up the sexual characteristics of child. For instance, the female, girl, for instance, they serve tea. For instance, oh, you are very talented, or as boys, for instance, when they pick something heavy, they are pampered, for instance, and they are called as lions, for instance, and the children become aware of this, try to internalize this, and they try to develop their sexual identity accordingly. Of course, while all this is going on the other hand, the child is curious, actually, has got curiosity about sexuality and asks questions. Where does the baby come from, for instance, especially if there is a pregnant lady, this stimuli becomes more important, and after receiving that answer, she asks more questions. How does the baby go inside the womb, or else how does it come out of the womb, for instance. So all the actually responses, all the answers that are received actually also contribute to their sexual development biologically, socially and psychologically. They develop their sexuality, and the preschool is really important. Period is really important. For instance, academic and also peer relations, and academic relations, and subconsciously they suppress, for instance, their sexual identity. And as we all know, of course, after the latent and period comes the genital and adolescent period, and they develop again their sexual identity. Of course, this with normal children, social incapacity, verbal and non-verbal communication limitations, and also autism spectrum disorder children. How is the discourse of the sexual development go on? Sexual development takes place in 3 stages: sexual identity development, sexual behavior and roles, and sexual tendency. And we have to tackle the issue from social and biological point of view when it comes to sexual identity. And with gender identity, it has always been questioned whether they would develop a sexual identity, autistic children. For the first time in 1980, research was carried out, and the cognitive capability is related with the mental age, and they have a potential to develop sexual identity according to the study, which is really important because this is a spectrum disease, and they don't have any social impact. They've got high severe stereotypes, and they are atypic, vague identity. It's a large spectrum, actually, autistic children, and together with their cognitive capabilities, they have a potential to develop sexual identity. And with sexual identity and social relations, when we look at it, first of all, the ASB, the social relation is really prominent here. And I would like to share 2 things here. First of all, the object relation theory. Because this theory says that in terms of identity development, it is really important, and according to biotheory, without having a relation with the object, without internalizing the relation with others, they cannot develop a sexual relation. There could be deviations in sexual identity in this respect. And the mental theory also is another thing. Creating empathy actually is an awareness towards the emotions of others, and the autistic children in this respect are insufficient and their capability is low. And with all these, actually, with gender, sexual identity is influenced. And autistic or ASB and sexual blindness, actually, the researchers actually, in order to develop the sexual identity, they could follow a different routine. This could be an atypical process, and they could have a different sexual identity. So sexual identity development, biologically speaking, as we all know, ASB is more frequently encountered with males against females. So why is the difference that significant? In the etiology of this disease, is there a gender difference? Does a gender difference play a role? When we take all these into account, in 2009, a study was carried out and says that male brain is more autistic than female brain. This is for normal brains, actually. Males are insufficient in empathy. They speak less. They are think more systematically. They take into account more mechanical chores, issues, and autism is like a extreme male theory. So scientific studies say that prenatal testosterone levels and autistic features are related to each other according to certain studies. Testosterone is important in influencing gender identity, and can it also impact the gender disparity? And autism and gender dysphoria, what is the relation? Dysphoria. And the studies carried out reveal that autism is expressed in gender dysphoria, both in males and females. Yes, with females. The gender dysphoria actually is contrary. They do cross-dressing, for instance. The theory actually is not sufficient in terms of gender disorders. So the researchers say that autism and with the gender dysphoria, or beyond biology, it is a gender blindness actually, because autism has a lack of social relation. This can trigger gender dysphoria, and they more suffer from gender dysphoria.
Var, olmaz olur mu?
There are opposite opinions. Gender dysphoric children develop autism disorder. It is because gender dysphorics itself. 204 children and adolescents are included in gender dysphoric sampling, and autism spectrum disorder is more prevalent compared to general population. But on the follow-up, only 5 out of 16 children gender dysphorism has been found. Why is it the case? Gender dysphoric diagnosis is very difficult to evaluate. Why? Because gender dysphoric individuals have some difficulties in sharing and expressing their emotions, but it is not only this case. Maybe ASD has obsessive compulsive sides. As we all know, in the ASD there are abnormal interests and behaviors, and ASD and gender dysphoria can be related in terms of preoccupation. There are some specific risk factors, however, they don't have definitive evidence. They are only speculative. What do we need? We need more sampling sizes, longitudinal follow-up studies, in order to understand gender and sexual development of these children. Self-report or parent report is the reporting type of these sexual behaviors, but functionality increases, privacy increases. As privacy increases, parent report decreases. When we look at masturbation, when they're alone, not on a public area, ASD 40/77, in the ASD girls 20.54%, and 93% of boys, they do masturbation. So what does that mean? What does it mean? ASD individuals do not do more masturbation than others, but they are tagged, they are stigmatized because their publicly masturbation are stigmatized. They are too much on the front, let's say. But what is compulsive masturbation? Is there any criteria? No, there is not. Why a masturbation is called as compulsive? When it comes to ASD diagnosed children, we cannot talk about masturbation. Public masturbation and unsuitable flirting and suitable masturbation, some romantic behaviors can be listed as autism spectrum disorder symptoms. When it comes to sexual tendency, there is targeted sexual onset, asexuality, bisexuality. When it comes to targeted or postponed sexual onset, we all know that ASD diagnosed people have difficulties in having relationship with opposite sex, and they have avoidance socially, romantically, emotionally. Therefore, they have difficulties in developing a relationship, and they have lower tendency in having a relationship. But this is not the sole factor. For a sexual experience which is postponed, we can also talk about low level of libido. And this has been proven. Frequency of orgasm and libido arousal is less than the general population. Asexuality, when we look at many trials on the ASD group, asexuality is not rare, we know that. However, on some trials dealing with sexual tendency, many ASD diagnosed individuals have preference on bisexuality. Okay, bisexuality compared to control group on the ASD diagnosed women, there is 4 times more tendency. Again, on the male population, we know that bisexuality is higher than the normal population, but there are certain etiological factors. These factors have not been explained literally. Last but not least, sexual development and sexual education. These are very important. We know that because in terms of behavior, social relationship, communication, autistic spectrum disorder diagnosed children are in need of sexual education. Why education matters that much? Actually, it is more important than the normal population, because in terms of sexual disorientation, we can see some predisposition, and these children are open to sexual harassment. So if we inform them, they can protect themselves, and also they have some uncontrolled behaviors towards others. So if they are educated, trained, they can limit themselves. Therefore, we can say education is very crucial. Thank you so much for your patience.